now, Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan.
This episode is brought to you by Dish Dash. Sign up for Dish Dash today using code GOODIMPROV and you'll receive 20% off the first crate of your plates delivered directly to your door. And now, our top stories. Breaking news. Hero plumber Mario has done a lot in his day. He's been a plumber, he's been a hero, he's been a doctor, and now he's trying his hand at stand-up comedy. Mario had a 1-hour special that he filmed recently, and the audience didn't quite respond to it perhaps the way he thought it would. I'll just give you a rundown of some of the things that he said while at the comedy club. It's-a me, Mario. Hello. Wahoo. And Mario time.
Yeah, I was there live at that special, Jordan, and I've got to say, Mario's limited vocabulary really hurt him here on this one.
It did. He has such a plethora of subjects to draw from in terms of observational comedy, in terms of situational comedy. He's always jumping on the heads of Goombas. But in this situation, Mario felt like he was the one getting stepped on.
I would completely agree. It was even more sad when he started busting out his variety of jumping tricks and backflips and things like that. And I was just thinking to myself, did I come to a circus or am I at a stand-up comedy show? It was very embarrassing.
Well, just imagine if you saw, say, Jerry Seinfeld up there, for example, and he started showing you his jumping skills instead of telling you funny jokes.
Even more embarrassing for Mario, his brother Luigi came on afterwards and just killed.
Well, he is hilarious. I highly recommend buying tickets to his show should he ever come to your town.
Breaking news now in diet and exercise. Now, Jordan, I know you've been trying to lose a few pounds lately. I know I've been trying to lose a few pounds lately. I think a lot of people are. And I think I've finally narrowed in on a diet choice that they're making that may be harming them. Many people will eat a full brick as a substitute for a meal. They think, oh, this is natural. It comes from the earth. That's all it is, right? It's just kind of dirt and heat.
Mm-hmm.
So people are happily eating these bricks, never realizing the bricks are actually incredibly heavy.
Well, they are quite heavy, quite dense. It would seem to me that because a brick is quite strong, and if you are what you eat, which I believe is true, then by eating something very strong like a brick, you would also become very strong.
That has been the scientific consensus for a long time, but scientists are now starting to believe that brick eating may be actually harmful to your health.
In addition to this, scientists have confirmed that we are seeing a sharp rise in the amount of broken teeth, perhaps due to brick bites. They are studying the correlation.
Yes, it's still kind of all up in the air. We don't know. We don't have the full facts yet, but as soon as we do, we will report them to you.
Nevertheless, I will be continuing to eat bricks each and every day until the science is settled. Breaking news now. NASA is one of the most inconsequential space programs in the world. I couldn't think of a less relevant one. But the Society for Studying Space has really knocked this one out of the park. They have been recruiting undead creatures because, as you know, creatures such as Frankenstein do not require air to breathe. They are already dead. And they recently put the Frankenstein monster on a shuttle into space on a very important mission. However, the shuttle did come close to the sun, at which point Frankenstein started screaming, "Ah, fire!" And reportedly, we are hearing that a spokesman for this organization has stated that Frankenstein went on a rampage.
That is a really terrible, terrible piece of news. I'm really sorry to hear that. After the disaster with sending the creature from the Black Lagoon into space because he didn't use oxygen, well, we all found out kind of how that went down when he attempted to breathe in the vacuum of space, still requiring things through his gills, and imploded on himself. I really thought they had it nailed down with Frankenstein this time. I really did. And it's just a shame. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board. And I don't know if the SSS is going to be able to survive this.
Well, a spokesman for the SSS reached out to us, and she disputed that this is going to ruin their organization, emphasizing that they are recruiting more undead creatures for spacefaring missions.
Well, I just hope they get it next time. Breaking news now, again in the world of diet and exercise. Jordan, tying into my previous story, as most human beings are attempting to lose a few pounds after, eating bricks and things like that, the gym has seen an uptick in the number of horses that are showing up to build their muscles. Already lean and strong, these bodybuilding horses are putting on more and more muscle mass. Truly startling to look at.
Well, horses are some of the most competitive athletes in the world. Dan, you've previously reported on the Kentucky Derby, and I know for a fact that these horses put in long hours at the gym trying to improve their muscle mass and their muscle size.
And this is just it, Jordan. Like, when you take a horse that's already full up with anabolic steroids inside of it, and you inject even more anabolic steroids into a horse like that, I don't even want to think what could happen. You'd have some sort of super mutant ultra horse.
And some of these horses are experiencing wild mood swings, kicking their legs furiously, and posing a real risk to not only other athletes, but fans of the sport.
Well, this reporter can only hope that human beings get it together enough and take the gyms back from these terrifying, terrifying horses.
Breaking news from the world of art. You, like myself, have probably looked at modern art. You've probably looked at classical art. And you've thought to yourself, this should be preserved and protected. And that's why we have things like museums. And these museums keep pieces of art safe. However, the one things museums have not accounted for is perhaps it's not people that art needs to be kept safe from. A cat recently walked into the Louvre and destroyed, among other pieces, the piece of art known as Starry Night. The cat scratched a hole, poking its head through, and proceeded to paw up and claw up the canvas, scratching it and destroying it. Of course, the cat was eventually apprehended, but was let go after officials and authorities looked into its cute kitty eyes.
Well, eyewitnesses on the scene who witnessed this desecration of Starry Night have also said that the guards were also mesmerized by the kitty pawing at the loose threads of the canvas and rolling over on its back and exposing its tummy while it was doing it. They say that had people not been so mesmerized by this little kitty cat, the painting may have been saved.
It may have. I mean, security reportedly rushed in there with their batons ready to bludgeon the cat into submission. But once they got about a foot away from the cat, they laid down their weapons and just pet its tummy.
Yeah, I think I actually heard that some of the guards were using their weapons to, wiggle it back and forth so the cat would pounce on that as well.
Mm-hmm. Gotta watch these cats. They are adorable, yet dangerous.
Breaking news in the world of farming. Well, Jordan, you can rest easy, as I can, because the cow shortage may officially be coming to an end. Scientists have figured out a way to splice the DNA of the few remaining cows with seals. So whereas you used to see a cow on 4 legs kind of moving around in the field, now what you're likely to see is a roly-poly little seal flipping and flopping around and giving all the milk and meat that you need.
What an adorable and efficient creature. Seals not only provide all the milk and meat that I enjoy, as you know, aside from bricks, I am on mostly a seal-exclusive diet. And I just think of seals as agriculture's best friend.
Well, farmers are hoping that they will have this seal product on store shelves within the next couple of months.
So adorable. As if it's been kissed by a rose. Stunning. Breaking news from the world of art. Paintings often get restored, but a new trend is seeing paintings receiving plastic surgery. We have reports now that the Mona Lisa has entered a facility after recovering from recent plastic surgery, changing the nose, changing the forehead, and even changing a bit under the chin. Nips and tucks are perhaps not what the original artist intended, but, as people age, and as paintings age, it's important to tighten things up every once in a while.
Well, Jordan, I'm going to go ahead and play devil's advocate here because I believe that had Da Vinci had access to some of these nips and tucks and surgical procedures, he might have changed his whole thought process when painting the Mona Lisa in the first place.
I believe he might have. And maybe Mona Lisa would not have been compelled to go get the plastic surgery had her face not been scratched up by the cat that we mentioned earlier. But whether it's due to some sort of crime, like an attack by a cat, or just vanity, just wanting to look a little bit more youthful and younger, this reporter can understand why someone would want to go through a procedure like this, even though it's painful and the recovery time is long.
Breaking news. Jordan, I have some somewhat startling information to share with you. Recently,
Please.
the devil was spotted in Best Buy. And here's the really shocking part of that. He had brought his computer in to be fixed by the Geek Squad. And the Geek Squad... Oh my god. I'm sorry, I get choked up thinking about this story. Something truly evil happened. The Geek Squad was incapable of fixing Satan's computer. That's right, they advised him to buy a brand new machine, and he walked out of there dissatisfied with many files lost.
That is shocking, and I understand that they did serve him even though he wasn't wearing a shirt, nor was he wearing shoes. They should have protected his property better than they did.
I just want to say, on behalf of all mortals here on Earth, I am very sorry, Satan, that you were incapable of getting your laptop fixed by the fine folks at the Geek Squad.
If they can't handle the Lord of Darkness's laptop, what makes me think that they can handle mine?
Exactly. Exactly.
Breaking news from the workplace. It's been reported that workplaces are 62% happier when there is an undead worker present among the staff, be it a skeleton that has been summoned by a necromancer, or even a shambling corpse.
I totally understand why. It's exciting to have a skeleton around.
It is. They can do that fun bone dance.
Mm-hmm. The last office I worked at, there were 3 skeletons, and they'd often exchange various bones on their body with one another to create a fun scene for us. It was hilarious.
Plus, you never have to worry about them eating your lunch.
And if they do try to, you can kind of see exactly who did it.
Yes, they are very transparent.
Breaking news! Jordan, I want to present something that we've been working on here behind the scenes, and I think it's time we reveal it to everybody. A segment we're calling the Wanted Person of the Week. And this week, Stephen Snakemore is our Wanted Person of the Week. He's been seen slithering around town and really wreaking havoc on people's ankles and boots. He's non-venomous, he has been defanged, and he doesn't really pose too much of a threat, but if he gets in your head, then he can really pose a threat to you.
Stephen Snakemore was last seen wearing a red, white, and black sweater that was hand-knitted. It's presumed that he knitted the sweater himself. However, it's possible he could have purchased it. If you or anyone you know has seen Stephen Snakemore, please do not approach him. Instead, you are encouraged to contact us at goodimprov.com.
And that is the end of our top stories, which brings us to an expert interview. Leading off of the Stephen Snakemore story, Jordan, I've decided to bring you, Jordan Ward, in, an expert in snake charming. And I'd just like you to give the public a little bit of tips and pointers on what they can do if a dangerous snake approaches them. How can they charm it?
Well, thank you for having me here, Dan. It's a pleasure to be on your show. I, of course, have much experience when it comes to snake charming, and I'll give your listeners a few valuable tips right now.
Thank you.
First thing I would suggest is observing something on the snake and complimenting it. Perhaps it's the snake's hairstyle or something the snake has, like a charm bracelet, and ask the snake, what's the story behind that? That's sort of the first way you can break the ice with a snake and begin the charming process.
Now, what about for those of us who have always been kind of awkward when they're around snakes? I get all tongue-tied. I get butterflies in my tummy. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. My palms start sweating.
Yes, you're probably nervous that you're going to walk up to a snake and you're going to immediately be bitten.
Exactly. Yes, correct.
Believe it or not, Dan, I was just like you when I first started. I don't want to reveal my entire process, but I do have a series of workshops that people can sign up for, and they can take these classes with me. They can learn how to build the confidence to approach any snake that they like. I often recommend that they approach 100 snakes a day. And even if they don't hit that number, they'll at least get used to approaching a lot of snakes. You can find details about this process in my upcoming book, and I hope people will take my workshops. But if not, they can check out the book. The book is called Shedding Your Skin, Getting to Know Snakes.
Well, one last question I have here before we run out of time for this segment, Jordan. I've heard, and maybe this is just a rumor, but I've heard that snakes prefer a more, well, muscular man. You know, I'm a little bit out of shape, so when I'm approaching a snake, I'm worried he's going to just sink his venom right into my flabby stomach. And I don't have muscles there to protect me from a snake bite. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. In an instance like that, I would recommend that you charm a constrictor snake. So you would have access to a lot of boas, some vipers, cobras, and the like. Although cobras are more strikers than they are constrictors, but if you get with enough constrictors, you'll be comfortable around a biter.
Okay, wonderful. Well, again, thank you for coming in, and we'll look for that new book as soon as it's on store shelves.
Thank you very much, Dan.
Let's now turn it over to Jordan Ward with sports. Jordan?
We go now to breaking news in the world of sports. The Nomad Shipwrecks have lost to the Nomad Castaways by a score of 18-0. They were playing football on a deserted island. Some of the players had been shipwrecked. Some of the players were castaways. And so they formed separate teams, established a league, and did battle last Sunday. Again, for a score of 18-0. They did, however, all receive terrible sunburns.
That's not going to be helpful for them moving forward. If they want to survive some of the other teams on that desert island, they better really watch out for those sort of perils.
Yes, because there are some other teams that have been spotted by passing ships. There are the, as you know, Charleswood Wizards, which are quite a rough and tumble team in this upcoming league. There's also the National Ballers, who have a bit more swagger. And, of course, you always want to watch out for the Broncos Purple.
I gotta figure that team suffered a little more head debt trauma when they landed on the island, but still, a force to be reckoned with, to be sure.
They did. In fact, the only two words they seem to be able to shout are Broncos and Purple, hence their team name.
Right. Well, I have some breaking news in the world of sports as well here I'd like to share, Jordan. I'd like to tip my hat this week to some good sports out there. So I'd like to first congratulate Mr. Jerry Jones of Phoenix, Arizona, who laughed along after it was revealed that he had been pranked. Yes, he was a very good sport about it. He didn't throw a tantrum. He didn't get upset. He didn't stomp out of the room. He just laughed and had a good time with everybody else.
That's what you like to see. I also understand that he shook everybody's hand afterwards, too, further being a good sport.
He sure did. Now, unfortunately, we have had cases like this in the past, where it appears someone is being a good sport, only to return later with an even more over-the-top prank of his own. So let's just hope that Jerry does not indulge in that kind of behavior.
Jerry, if you're out there, keep up what you're doing. You're a good sport.
We salute you.
Yes, we do. According to witnesses, Jerry was also a good sport when he was pranked. Somebody put a bucket of water above his doorway. He walked through the door, bucket of water came down on him, and most people would get angry. They'd get mad. But a witness who was close to this story informed us that Jerry simply turned, gave a wry look, and chuckled. What a good sport.
Great sport. Well, Jordan, let's switch gears a little bit here, and we've talked a lot about being a good sport here, but what we haven't talked about is sportsmanship.
Mhm.
So I'd like to salute a few people who brought the spirit of sportsmanship to their everyday jobs. So the first person I'd like to salute is Mr. Frank Phillips. He brought a baseball bat to his office, and instead of just giving people pieces of paper, he'd crumple them up and whack them over with a baseball bat.
Oh, what a fun way to distribute office information.
Absolutely. And what a great way to bring sportsmanship to the everyday.
Yes. A sportsmanship is something you could also see in a regatta, where sportsmanship is important because that's how you get from point A to point B. And I would like now to talk a little bit about a regatta that recurled recently. And I said recurled because that is a new phrase being used in the regatta world, being brought in by the Charleswood Rods. They are hoping that this phrase is going to help them win the next 10 regattas in a row.
Well, I don't know how it's going to help them in their sailing, but I do know it's confused many of their opponents, and they're spending time trying to figure out what the heck this word means, rather than spending time with their jibs and sails.
Precisely. They're hoping this word is going to cause confusion, and while the other teams are debating about the meaning of this word, the Charleswood Rods are going to sail on through to the finish line 10 years in a row.
Well, that's it for sports. That's all the time we have for sports today. But we'd like to introduce a brand new segment that we've been working on here on Breaking the News. A crime segment. Now, I'd like to kick this first segment off by offering a few tips on how you can get into the world of crime. So some of the top tips we've been hearing from experts are low and easy ways to get into the world of crime. Don't pay your taxes. Walk across the street where you're not allowed to walk across the street. Things like that.
Litter.
Great way to get into the world of crime.
But a plausible way to litter, a way to have plausible deniability, is to claim that you're trying to put something in your pocket and it merely fell down and you didn't notice. This is a way to ease your foot into the pool of crime.
That's right. A lot of people jump right into a larger crime like an armed robbery or a break and enter, and they find, oh, you know what, this isn't for me. But by then, it's already too late. You're already invested too much.
I was the victim of an armed robbery. As you know, Dan, you saw it happen. And at first I didn't know what to do without my arms. I couldn't grasp anything, couldn't open any doors. Eventually my arms were recovered, though they had been vandalized and are now 4 inches shorter than they used to be.
Well, I think the 4 inches shorter looks good on you.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wish that the person who victimized me had eased their way into crime rather than, as you said, jumping right into armed robbery.
Right. Maybe you would have enjoyed being, a simple assault. You would have enjoyed being the victim of a simple assault. But instead, you're thrust right into the world of armed robbery, something that you're not ready for.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of thrust, I too, Dan, have a breaking news story in the world of crime. People have heard of the Space Force. This is a new division of the United States military that has recently been launched. But what people have neglected to mention is what is happening in the nation of Canada. The nation of Canada has recently announced that they have a new division of the RCMP. This division will be known as the Royal Canadian Moon Police. These policemen will have mounted units, they'll be on horseback, and policemen and horse will be in an astronaut outfit patrolling the moon for the nation of Canada, preventing any moon crimes that may be occurring.
This is a very altruistic move by the nation of Canada, I have to say, especially considering that they have never once shown any ambition to getting to the moon in the first place, and now they're launching this full-scale program to send horses and police up there. It's pretty amazing.
Yes, they have announced their intention to deploy over 800 horses and over 3 policemen to the moon's surface.
Excellent. Well, I feel safer already. So maybe now you can actually walk down the dark side of the moon without worrying about it.
That's the hope, because the dark side of the moon can be a place that is rife with crime. A lot of littering, for example.
Well, Jordan, we have time for one last breaking news in crime. And so I'd like to say I have some breaking news in the world of crime. For years, it had been thought that the smallest crime committed had been when little Jackie John had stolen a single penny worth of candy from a local candy store. But new records have emerged indicating that a crime even more petty may have been committed. A man named Jim, no last name, actually stole half of a penny candy from a candy store, clocking in at a mere 0.5 cents stolen.
These are the most unheroic actions that I have ever heard of since records began. And I hope the authorities are able to crack down with the full weight of the law on this man named Jim.
Well, they actually surrounded his house earlier today, and they busted down the door, and they found that Jim was actually around 95 years old at this point. Candy hasn't been a single penny for many years, as you well know.
Mm.
But they still had to exert the full force of the law against him, and they took him to jail.
That's justice.
That's
what you like to see. Fantastic. Well, that brings us to our wrap-up. Here's what you can expect next week. Next week, I will be bringing you a story that is going to blow your mind. And this story is all about asparagus.
Can you give us even a little hint onto what you're gonna say? I'm so excited already.
Mental health experts are saying that asparagus is ready to snap. Could happen at any moment.
Oh. Well, I hope we haven't been taking this fine vegetable for granted.
I hope we haven't. We'll find out next week.
I have a story that I'm working on for next week as well, Jordan. I'm actually going to be disappearing next week.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll expect me to show up for the show, you'll get ready to go, everything will be set up and ready to go, and I will just have vanished.
Wow.
Tune in next week when I tell you the location.
Oh, okay. It is going to be a disappearance, not an abduction. I was a little bit worried there.
No, it's a disappearance. It's a disappearance.
Okay, fantastic. Also, tune in next week when I interview a blizzard and find out just what's going on in that mind.
I actually also have an interview next week set up with a blizzard, but not a snow blizzard, one of those tasty treats. I'm going to ask it, does it need really to be flipped upside down before being served to a customer every time?
Yes, it's constantly flipping back and forth. You'd think you'd get dizzy. Also, tune in next week when I will give you the results of the latest game between the Shipwrecks and the Castaways. I hear that it has resulted in several deaths.
That sounds like a fantastic game. I can't wait to hear about that one.
Mm-hmm. I had money bet on it. We'll find out if I won or lost on the next episode.
I have one last story that we've been working on for a long time, Jordan, and I want to announce it here and now. We are finally going to be broadcasting the show at a frequency that only dogs can hear. Yes, that's right. Next week's show will be our first episode that dogs can hear exclusively.
This is incredible. And I just want to let our listeners know that their dogs are going to flip out without any warning because they will not be able to hear the show.
So please tune in next week when we bring you all that and more on Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan.
I'm Jordan.
I'm Dan.
And the news is broken. Thanks for listening.
That was Breaking the News with Dan and Jordan.